All right, today we're going to talk about something that can be, well, pretty nerve-wracking for a lot of folks in tech, the system design interview.
Yeah, we're going to break down exactly what it is, why it matters so much, and give you a solid plan to nail it. But before we get into all that, did you know that this one interview can be the single biggest factor in landing a senior engineering role? Seriously, the stakes are incredibly high. It can literally be the difference between a junior and senior level offer. So, yeah, let's get you ready to crush it.
Okay, so first things first, what exactly is a system design interview? What is this big, scary challenge that companies love to put engineers through?
Well, at its heart, it's really just a conversation. The interviewer throws a big, kind of vague problem at you, and their main goal is to see how you think. Can you take this fuzzy idea and turn it into something concrete? Can you actually design a system that works? And maybe most importantly, can you explain why you made the choices you did?
So, for example, you might get a classic question like this: could you design Twitter's timeline? What they're really asking is, how would you build a system that can handle millions and millions of people reading and writing tweets all at the same time?
Or how about this one? Could you design Uber's ride-sharing system? Just think about all the pieces for a second. You've got to connect riders with drivers in real time, track their locations super accurately, and handle payments securely, and do all of that at a massive scale. It's a huge challenge. And for the really big one, maybe they'll ask you to design the infrastructure behind Google Search. I mean, how do you even start? How do you crawl the entire web, index all of it, and then spit out relevant results in just a few milliseconds? And here's the secret. There's no single right answer. It's all about showing them your thought process.
Okay, so we know what it is, but why does this one interview matter so much? What's really on the line here? Well, let's break it down. Honestly, the impact is huge. If you have a strong performance, you're looking at a senior role offer, better compensation, and way more interesting, complex projects. But a weak performance, that could mean a junior offer, less pay, or, maybe no offer at all.
Yeah, this quote really says it all. Shine bright in the system design interview, and you're on track for those senior titles. Look, once you've been in the industry for a few years, this interview becomes the main way companies figure out if you can think big and lead projects. It's basically the gatekeeper to senior and staff roles. Now, I know what you might be thinking. How can they possibly judge my entire career in just 1 hour? And you're right. It's not a perfect system, not by a long shot. But try to see it from their side. A bad senior hire is incredibly expensive and disruptive. So they use this interview as a proxy, like a simulation of the real challenges you'd face. It's pretty much the best tool they've got to avoid making a bad hire.
Okay, enough about the what and the why. Let's get to the good stuff, the how. I'm going to give you a proven blueprint, a strategy to help you prepare and totally crush this thing.
So our blueprint breaks down into 4 key steps. First, and this is the big one, practice, practice, practice. Second, you got to study common design patterns. Third, master your visual tools. And fourth, do regular mock interviews. Simple, right? Let's start with number 1, practice.
Okay, let's actually do a little practice right now. Let's say you're asked to sketch out Instagram's backend. The key is, don't just talk about it, draw it. We'll start simple. You've got your user on their phone, and they connect to your app servers. Easy enough, right?
But what happens when millions of people are all hitting refresh on their feeds at once? Your app servers are going to get totally overwhelmed. So what's the next logical step? You add a caching layer. This is just a way to store frequently accessed stuff like popular posts or user profiles in really fast memory. It takes a ton of pressure off your main systems.
Okay, next up, where does all this data actually live? Well, you're going to need databases. And you probably don't want to just cram everything into one giant database. A much better approach is to have dedicated databases for different things. One for posts, another for who follows who, and maybe another one for comments. It just makes it so much easier to scale and keep organized.
And last but not least, what about the billions of photos and videos? You are not putting those in a regular database. For that, you need something like a distributed object storage system. Think Amazon S3. And boom, just like that, you've sketched out a solid, high-level architecture. This is the kind of practice that builds real confidence.
All right, the second part of our blueprint is studying common design patterns. And listen, here's a little pro tip. If you're short on time, just focus on a few key ones you'll see over and over. Things like load balancing, caching, like knowing when to use Redis versus Memcache, and database sharding. Seriously, if you master these and a few others like CDNs, you're most of the way there. But the key is knowing the trade-offs of each one. You have to be ready to explain why you chose one over the other.
Okay, you've done the prep work, you've practiced. Now, it's game day. You're in the room, the whiteboard is staring back at you. How do you execute with confidence? Here's your 5-step game plan. Step 1, clarify the requirements first. Don't write a single line until you know what you're building. Step 2, manage your time wisely. Step 3, and this is huge, think out loud, always. Step 4, diagram your system on that whiteboard. And step 5, if you get stuck, don't panic. Seriously, the single biggest mistake people make is jumping into design before they fully understand the problem.
And out of all those steps, thinking out loud is probably the most critical. You have to remember, the interviewer can't read your mind. You need to be the narrator of your own thought process. Vocalize your rationale, talk about your assumptions, explain the trade-offs you're wrestling with. That's how they see what's going on in your head and give you credit for your awesome ideas.
Whew. We've covered a ton of ground here, right? From what this interview even is, to a whole plan for preparing and executing. So let's wrap up by boiling it all down to the key takeaways you absolutely have to remember.
All right, here are your key takeaways. Number 1, this interview determines your seniority. It's that important. 2, practice drawing real systems, on a whiteboard if you can. 3, explain your trade-offs and think out loud. 4, clarify those requirements before you design anything. And finally, manage that clock. You're in charge of the time.
Look, I know this can all seem super intimidating, but this is absolutely a skill you can learn and master. You have the blueprint now. With some dedicated practice, you're going to walk into that next interview with total confidence. So, the only question left is, what system will you design first?